talk about. Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. It's Tuesday.
It sure is, Bill. It sure is. It feels like it. I feel like I've already lived a full week. So since yesterday. So there's that.
And it's only Tuesday.
Yes, it's only Tuesday.
There we go. All right. And another nice day in the city of Savannah.
Yes, it kind of heated back up yesterday. A little bit warmer.
Yeah, warmer than usual. But that's climate change.
Yes. It feels like a steam room outside, Bill.
That's right. For sure.
Very exciting.
It'll cool off again because we have climate change. We call it seasons.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yes. And I kind of wanted to touch a little bit this morning about how Russell Brand, number one, he has not been convicted.
Right.
He's been accused, but he has really no way to defend himself. YouTube has demonetized his channel, so he cannot make money off of his YouTube channel. Rumble has come out in support of him. And now we have advertisers that are basically trying to go after Rumble. Burger King has pulled their advertising, and so has HelloFresh, along with, I think, ASOS is the name of the company, some clothing company. But I think that's pretty interesting, Bill.
Yeah.
When you're trying to take someone's livelihood when they have not been convicted of anything, they have been accused. And unfortunately, because of the Me Too movement, it has gone from believe all women to believe no women. And I think
that's an excellent point. And it's pathetic how this comes about, and that nobody seems to understand how, why, or anything else. But all of a sudden, these people come out of the woodwork and start accusing people of things. It was a great story here in Georgia that we'll get to perhaps in the next day or two. But there's been a man who has just gotten out of prison. He's been in prison he was 22 when he went in. He's 42 years old now. And it turns out that he was innocent. And how they found out about this was because of a podcast. There's been a podcast that has these people are dedicated to getting people released from prison, and they've been very successful at it. They've taken on something like 22 or 25 cases, and 16 of them have been overturned. People who were in jail, in prison, and were innocent. And they uncovered all sorts of evidence that had not been presented before. They found some jury tampering, also a DA that had taken a bribe or some sort of thing. But this guy had been in prison. He came out. We usually would see these people come out, Brittany. You see them. They're in their 60s or 70s or something like that. They've been in there for 20 years. This guy came out looking like just a young kid, maybe just out of college or something. So being only 42 years old, but had been in prison for 20 years for something he did not do. And thank God for this podcast that finally got this guy's evidence out. And so we've got Russell Brand, who has not denied any of these things about what a womanizer.
He was a womanizer. Yeah, he knows.
Sure, skirt chaser we used to call him.
Yeah,
or whatever.
But he was cheered on by the left when he was on their side. Now that he's more of a moderate, or he's anti-war, and he anti-pharmaceutical company, I think that that's why he's being targeted. That's why all of a sudden it's a big deal. I think we're also seeing this with. Even the guy that I'm trying to think of his name right now, the guy that is now being charged out of New York, they're actually charging someone with a crime. It's weird. The Democrat senator from New Jersey. Yes. He came out and questioned the deal with Iran, and now all of a sudden he's now under fire. Not saying that he's not guilty, but I do think it's interesting the timing of everything, because there's always a reason that the media and the left will go after someone, and it usually is because it's going to benefit them. But this thing with Russell Brand really bothers me, especially because I think this is an indicator that perhaps they are going to try and get rid of Rumble, because Rumble is the only platform that is allowing free speech and not taking people's monetization down, because guess what? People are allowed to watch what they want to watch in a free country, which is getting more limited here in the U.S.
Yeah, we're getting less and less free, and it's by design. As Laura Ingraham opened her program last night, invasion by invitation was her talking point last night on the angle that all of these people that are coming pouring in here, and some of the Democrats are even worried about it now because I think they're worried about reelection, and most politicians are much more concerned about the security of their seat than about the security of their country, and they are suddenly worried that they could get voted out of office because of all these illegals that are pouring across the border, especially when we find out some of the illegals are going to vote for Republicans.
Well, here's the other thing, Bill. You are bringing all these people over, and then you're telling people we're probably going to have some food shortages.
Yeah.
Do you think people are okay with that? They're like, okay, so you're bringing in all these people that we now have to, we shouldn't have to feed, honestly, but we're going to end up paying for to feed. And yet a lot of people that are American citizens that are paying tax money to feed these people are probably not going to be able to afford a lot for their own families.
Exactly.
How is that right, Bill?
Well, it isn't. And by the way, it's not sustainable. It's a house of cards. Because sooner or later, the people who are producing are going to quit producing and say, okay, well, we'll sit back on our haunches and we'll let you feed us too. Well, then who's paying the bills? The government doesn't make money.
They sure don't. They take it from the American citizens.
Exactly.
And Mary McCann Hybrider said regarding Russell Brand, if you question the narrative, you will be canceled. Absolutely. And he's been probably one of the most anti-war people out there. And we can see that things are coming to a head, I think. When you have 60 Minutes reporting where the money is all going, I think it's a real problem.
Yeah, and 60 Minutes actually did this past Sunday night.
American taxpayers are financing more than just weapons. We discovered the US government's buying seeds and fertilizer for Ukrainian farmers and covering the salaries of Ukraine's first responders, all 57,000 of them. That includes the team that trains this rescue dog, named Joy, to comb through the wreckage of Russian strikes looking for survivors. And the US also funds the divers, who we saw clearing unexploded ammunition from the country's rivers to make them safe again for swimming and fishing. Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the US government is subsidizing small businesses.
Why are they not? Us? Yeah, why aren't they subsidizing our small businesses? Since during COVID, most people there's a lot of people that lost their businesses, Bill, and then had to go work for a corporate company, which is what they want. But it's heartbreaking to me to see where we're at in this country and that we're not even taking care of our own citizens, but yet we're going to take money from the taxpayers and we're going to give it to other people. I'm very disappointed in our representative here who voted to send $300 million more to Ukraine. There is no reason we need to be sending money over there. Look at Philadelphia. Look at Chicago. I mean, pick Baltimore. A city.
Yeah,
pick a city.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Did you hear Did you hear how many people are proficient in math? 11%.
Yeah.
11%. And there was 12 schools. Not one person was proficient in math. Not one.
And the superintendent there makes over almost $500,000 a year. This
insane. It's absolutely insane.
Overseeing a failing school system.
Government is the only place you can fail up.
Yeah. And what was interesting is that we talked to our youngest grandson last night, who just turned 8, and we got him a phone for his birthday.
A cell phone?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a dial phone. It's a dial phone.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he's calling us now.
Oh,
and we're keeping up to date. And they go to Veritas Academy, which is he and his brother. And that's a classical education. It's a very small private school here, and they do a classical education. Last night, he was going over some of his homework with us, and he was telling us how many, he was talking about, and his mom asked him, what are you learning about anatomy? And he was telling us how many bones are in the body, how many muscles, how many parts, what the 3 parts of the brain are, what the heart does, and the different parts. I want you to ask any other 8-year-old in a public school, how many parts of the brain are there, and name them. How many bones are in the human body, and name them. And he said, what's the biggest bone? I said, the femur. And he would have to think about the answer for a second or two, but he would usually come up with it. And these are some of the things that they're learning. He had to do a presentation on Christopher Columbus last week, and he had to bring his presentation in and dress it some of the way that Columbus did. I mean, it is amazing what they're learning.
The thing is if things aren't broke, don't fix them. I mean, classical education works.
Yeah.
We don't need to have all this fancy stuff. We don't need,
In fact, speaking of that, this morning on Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade was interviewing a movie producer. They have just come up with a movie that's based on Ajax, the god of is that the god of war? One of the Greek
Okay.
gods.
Okay.
And he had a classical education, and he's doing a play now with that you'll have access to, that shows the ravages of war and the PTSD and all the things that families are going through. But he's going back to but they're doing it from ancient Greece of plays that they had then, that we're talking about. The warriors then had the same problem. The wives were wondering what they do with, how they can help their husband when they come back from battles. And they have the exact same problems that they're having today. And he said he's bringing it forward, and they're doing all this, and it's very impressive. But that's what a classical education can do for you. That he said, this PTSD stuff and all of this stuff, but what you do when you come back from war and the depression that you have, the bad things that you see, are no different now than they were thousands of years ago. I remember some years ago, Life magazine, Lifetime Life, was publishing some pretty good stuff about the Civil War, and one of them was letters from home or to home. Letters so they published letters that soldiers wrote to their parents from the battlefield, and it was heart-rending to hear some of this stuff. One of the classic lines was, "Mama, I hope you never see what I have seen. You never have to see what I have seen of the horrors of war and battle." And it's so things. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Things are not that different. We're not that different on the battlefield then. The weapons have been different, are different, about the only change.
Yeah. Well, I also think technology also inhibits people's ability to be creative sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that has changed as well.
Yeah.
We have some comments here. Steve Stanton Sr. says, ever since I've been able to vote, Carter, I've heard the next election is the most important of our lifetime. Well, I can safely say 2024 is possibly our last. We had better get it right. And Mary McCann Hybrider says over 100 billion. She's talking about Ukraine. Lizzie Warren says Ukraine is a money pit, and Mary comes back with war is nothing but a money-making scheme for the military-industrial complex. Absolutely. And I think the one thing that's...
start the war and furnish the ammunition.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, Bill, is we're seeing our country fall apart, and yet we're paying more taxes than we've ever paid before.
Yeah.
And we're getting less for our money. Oh, but everyone else is getting more. Every other country is getting more. Mm-hmm. Isn't that exciting and fun?
Yeah. We're not concerned about our border, but we're concerned about Ukraine's.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, that's how it goes.
But this is all by design. This is all designed to destroy the United States of America, and we better wake up and solve it in this next election. And that's what this next segment is going to be about. We're going to talk to a gentleman who's in charge of Vote GA. They're trying to get this thing straightened out with these lousy voting machines that we have, and he's got all the goods on the 2020 election and all the fraud that went on that they continue to say didn't happen. That's next. Stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Are you a mom or dad? Do you have little kids with big dreams? Well, hopefully your kids aren't white or Asian, because if they are, they will have a very hard time getting into their dream college or landing their dream job. Top schools and corporations are run by left-wing Democrats, and they openly discriminate against whites and Asians. So even if your daughter has the best test scores, even if your son has amazing grades, even if they spend extra hours studying and doing everything right, it won't be enough. Unless you suddenly discover that you're part Cherokee, or transgender, or in the country illegally. Otherwise, your kids are out of luck. Which begs the question, if Democrats are hurting your children, why would you ever vote for them? Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. And this past Thursday, had a great presentation at Ladies on the Right. Before we get into the main topic of that, I just want to say congratulations and a big thank you to a lady, Marilyn Overton, who started this organization with the help of a few friends. As the late, great Zell Miller used to say, when you see a turtle up on a fence post, you know he didn't get there by himself.
Yeah.
Well, she and a few other ladies got together about 3 years ago and started an organization called Ladies on the Right. And there was only about a handful. The first time I addressed them, I think there were about 25 or 30 people there. And now they fill the entire plantation club. Yeah, it's the plantation. I know they call it the Palmetto Club. But they fill that entire banquet room of over 150 or 60 people.
Yeah, and Marilyn, if you don't know Marilyn, she's a little bit of a spitfire, and she's a firebrand. Yeah, she's been great for the community of Republican women down here. She's done a lot of great things, and she has passed the torch to Jody Voss in that organization. But Marilyn is great. If you guys haven't been out to a meeting, you guys definitely should go. It's the third Thursday of every month.
And I identify on every third Thursday as a woman on the right. And,
there you go.
Go out to the landings. And as an honorary member, and it is an honor to be an honorary member. But Marilyn just stepped down as the president of the organization and turned the gavel over to another lady. And Marilyn, gave her a standing ovation. So take another bow, because what you've done out there has been really significant. So, and thanks for the ladies that get together and do this. When women get together, this is usually a dynamic force. In fact, we were just speaking about the play that we were talking about a moment ago. They talked about the women who were organizing this and trying to help their husbands, centuries ago, and it's gone on from there. When a few years ago, when the Navy and decided in their indefinite wisdom to start to put all of our old Ohio-class submarines, which includes the USS Georgia, into mothballs. The woman who was in charge was the president of the U.S. Navy League, got together with senators and congressmen and said, no, we can repurpose these submarines. And they've now been repurposed. They no longer carry nuclear missiles. Some of them may be nuclear tipped, but they now carry cruise missiles. And so these submarines now have another 20 years of life that would have been collecting rust and mothballs up in Connecticut someplace, parked somewhere. And now they're still active. In fact, the USS Georgia is stationed right here down at Kings Bay. And so they have repurposed those submarines to last another 15 or 20 years of life to help protect us if we're going to save this country. So when women get together, congratulations. Well, this past Thursday, our speaker was the director of something called the Constitution Party, Garland Favorito. And he's got all the goods. He's already testified in already the trial that was going on with Donald Trump and others here in Georgia. They're heavily involved in that, of getting our voting machines changed to go to paper ballots. And they've got all the goods. They've got all the evidence that show that there was all sorts of cheating going on in our elections, including ballots that came in, 200 of them, that came in all of a sudden, every one of them for Joe Biden, which is statistically impossible. But they started doing tests on the paper. The paper wasn't the proper paper that they do the ballots on, so it was a counterfeit ballot to begin with. And then they noticed that that was not ink actually on there, it was toner, which means these things were run off on a copy machine. So we've got the goods, and had a chance to talk with him after the meeting last week to ask him what we can do and what he's found out and what we do going forward.
voterga.org, that stands for Voters Organized for Trusted Election Results in Georgia.
Well, here we are trying to prove once again that there was some hanky-panky in the 2020 elections, and that most of the lamestream media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, don't want to hear it. But you've got ample evidence to show that there was, and that there ought to be something done about it before so we can preserve the integrity of our elections.
Yeah, Georgia was victimized by a multifaceted attack on our elections that included election bribery and interference, ballot trafficking operations in Metro Atlanta, as well as Columbus and likely Savannah. We had electronic vote manipulation of the ballot images, and we had a variety of different situations that I went through many of these today in the hearing. I'm sorry, in the speech today, in the presentation, and we'll be talking a little bit more about those this evening as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like you have this hard evidence to prove all of this, just like the Republicans now have all this hard evidence to prove Joe Biden's connection with Hunter and all the business shenanigans and business dealings. But the other side always says there's no evidence here.
Well, right,
move on.
Right, and I presented almost much of that evidence last week at John Eastman's trial, where the attorney for President Trump, or at least he did work for President Trump for a while, and they were trying to pull his bar license, claiming that there was no evidence of fraud, errors, and irregularities. I was out there to testify for him, and we laid all that out in court over a 3-day period.
Any kind of media coverage you getting on this?
Very little media coverage. There was some coverage of John Eastman's trial. There hasn't been much coverage locally of all the evidence that we have uncovered. It seems like the local news media like the AJC and GPB just simply don't want to touch it.
Garland, what is this seems absurd that all of these DAs around the country, I wonder where they get all this power now to suddenly making these federal charges. And she's got, so we have Fani Wallace, who's the daughter of a Black Panther, DA in Fulton County, has come up with all of these indictments against 19 people. And it just seems like there's just one, the whole thing, it looks like it's just a conspiracy to get rid of Donald Trump.
Well, not only to get rid of Donald Trump, but also, 18 of those people are her political adversaries. So it's an attempt to damage her political adversaries financially, and most importantly, it's an attack on free speech and an attempt to shut down anyone who questions an election, and so that they can continue to conduct secretly counted evil elections from now until infinity.
Mm-hmm. And what you pointed out today in your presentation and presentations that you're making is as people were asking questions, which is their First Amendment right. They weren't asking for the vote to be overturned or anything else. They were simply asking questions, which isn't any kind of a felony or criminal act at all.
And they were asking for investigation. So that's their free speech rights, protected free speech under the United States Constitution.
Yeah, in fact, I don't recall a single Democrat that has not questioned an election that a Republican won in the last 60 years.
Well, exactly. In fact, there's a famous video of the Democrats questioning I guess it was the 2018 or 2019 elections, and rightfully so. I think they raised very good points. and they were entitled to do that. But right now, Fani Willis is attempting to implement a double standard of justice, which not only for all of the folks in Georgia, but which could be set a precedent nationally as well.
Well, Merrick Garland just swore to us in front of Congress that they apply the law equally. Republicans, Democrats, doesn't make any difference. There's no favoritism here.
I think that's a blatant lie.
What about Fani Willis herself? What RICO statutes, really?
Yeah, well, the same thing. You know, she says that she makes her decisions based on facts and law. Obviously, that's a lie. I mean, if you look at that, there's clearly no racketeering here. These are 18, 19 people that didn't know each other. They don't work for any given single criminal enterprise or any enterprise at all, for that matter. And yet, she's tried to drum up these racketeering charges based on clear acts of free speech, such as Donald Trump saying, hey, watch the hearings on OAN, One American News. Somehow that's an act of a conspiracy for racketeering. These are just absolutely absurd.
And that would be a violation of her oath of office, would it not? This is an impeachable offense.
Her oath of office does require her to be impartial, and clearly with this indictment, she has not been impartial.
What can we do politically? The governor has power. The DA, Georgia's AG has power.
Yes. So the governor has constitutional authority to ensure that the laws of the state are withheld. She's in clear violation of not only her oath of office, but of the statutes for prosecutors. She's committing clear prosecutorial misconduct. I don't see how anyone could ignore that. I mean, basically, it's the worst case of prosecutorial misconduct, I believe, in American history. So the governor certainly can do that. The attorney general has unbridled authority to investigate any affairs of the state. This is clearly an affair of the state, and he could certainly investigate and make a difference here. But he's chosen not to, along with the governor of the state of Georgia, Governor Kemp. And that leaves us with the legislature. The House and Senate Ethics Committee have subpoena power. They can investigate, and the House has sole right to vote to impeach, and that impeachment can be voted upon and passed with a simple majority vote.
Well, I talked to State Representative Jesse Petrie last week, and he said the argument against that was that they don't have enough votes from the Democrat side to get it done, and that that if we replace Fani Willis, we're going to have somebody just as bad who would double down on these charges anyway.
Well, I don't think that there could be anyone just as bad. She has, and I think that would send a message to Fulton County, and that we're not going to accept that kind of prosecutorial misconduct. So I think these are just excuses for legislators not being willing to step up and do the job that their constituents want them to do.
And he also said, well, he would rather see her lose in court, and that they're going to all these charges are going to be dropped by a jury. And I'm thinking, a Fulton County jury, really?
Well, and then she gets off scot-free. And the objective here is that you cannot commit the worst case of prosecutorial misconduct in the history of America and walk away scot-free. There has to be accountability. The people of the state of Georgia want accountability in their election officials, both Republican and Democrat, and it's an obligation for any House member, including the Speaker of the House, to stand up for their party and their people, and not for corrupt district attorneys or prosecutors who are trying to, attack folks who are supposedly their friends and their legislative cohorts. I mean, she's actually attacking her adversaries, and the Speaker is an adversary, and yet he won't stand up for his own people against this corrupt prosecution.
I've seen on the federal level too, where they with the Hunter Biden investigation and the Biden crime syndicate, and and just every Democrat to a person says there's no evidence, there's nothing to see here, move on.
Well, and again, we spent 3 days in California on John Eastman's trial, putting that evidence into the record. We were happy to do it. I'll probably be going back again. The evidence is there for anyone who wants to see it. You have to be willing to look at it, though.
Okay, I tell people how to get in touch. We're heavily into shameless self-promotion, Garland, so tell people about your organization and how to get in touch and help.
Thank you, Bill. It's voterga.org. We are a nonpartisan nonprofit. We've got a wealth of information into our press conferences, our legal briefs. Everything is out there on voterga.org. And we are a nonpartisan nonprofit. We are
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like,
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted based on my chromosomes.
When I grow up,
I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long.
When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Yeah, well, things aren't getting any better at the border, are they?
No, they aren't. And really quick, we'll wrap up the segment with Garland. Lizzie Warren says Mike Nafong paid for his misconduct with Duke lacrosse players only because their families had the financial means to expose him. Mm-hmm. And I actually didn't know who that was, or I didn't know the name, but I knew this case, and yeah. Bill kind of informed me. Do you want to talk a little about who that is?
Yeah, this was a DA. He was running for re-election, and he thought this was going to be a big deal of him really going aggressively after these Duke lacrosse players who were accused of attacking and raping a woman at some off-campus frat party of some kind. Most of these guys, and she finally testified, and others testified that this happened in the 11 o'clock hour or something like that. Most of these guys had left the party by 9 o'clock. And one of the young men who they were trying to put in jail that he was going after had gone to an ATM machine at like 11 at the same time that all this stuff was supposed to be going on. Here he is like 3 or 4 blocks away going to an ATM machine that is time stamped. You can't change that video. You can't alter the times or anything on it. And they proved that he wasn't even there. And yet this guy was trying to put him away for 17 years. And it had not been for Rush Limbaugh and several others in the mainstream media and people who really knew their stuff and were actually going to tell an honest story about it. These kids finally were exonerated, and thank God. But they were, I mean, the parents were worried and everything else, but it cost them, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to have these kids defended and to finally get this off. They were ostracized on campus. The professors were speaking out against them. They suspended or canceled the rest of the lacrosse season. And the lacrosse coach came out and rallied against them. It was just pathetic. I think most of them had to withdraw from school and go somewhere else.
It's ridiculous, ruining people's lives for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Steve Stanton Sr. says, great report. I intend to support their efforts. Thanks for bringing the report to us. So, yes, Garland Favorito, he's been doing this for over 20 years. So definitely on the side of election integrity.
And they've got the counterfeit ballots. I mean, they have all of this stuff. And yet they keep saying that and so we've got these 19 people being prosecuted, and understand. And she wanted to cut to like 22 of them. So Lindsey Graham, who else? There were several others that she wanted to bring charges against.
Kanye West publicist, I think, was one of them. I mean, I don't know. It's gotten too crazy for me to keep up. But, outside the state of Georgia, Texas, there's a couple of things that I wanted to shout out. The Republican Party of Texas calls on Speaker Dade Phelan to step down from his leadership role as Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives to allow a new speaker to be elected after caucus vote in accordance with the Republican Party of Texas platform. And that is due to their witch hunt, the fact that they did bring charges against Ken Paxton. Thank goodness the Senate came in and decided that this was not going to happen. But Ken Paxton is the most conservative AG we have in the country, and he has done such good work, and I'm excited to see him continue to do that work.
And he's now been exonerated.
Yes, and he is back in action. So excited to see what he's going to do moving forward. But also, the Mary Hybreeder actually brought this to my attention yesterday, is that the legislature in Texas actually just voted to go after this Colonial Ridge in Houston. They are having a special session in regards to it. I believe there's about 60,000 illegal immigrants that currently live there. The developer is actually allowing them to rent property or own property with like a 15% interest rate on what they're utilizing on that land. So really interesting, but it's becoming quite clear that the legislature probably does need to step in. We need to do something about this. They shouldn't be allowed to own property here if they're illegal, and they're breaking the law just by being here.
Well, I don't think we should be selling farmland to China either, but apparently we are, especially if that farmland happens to be near a military base. I don't know what it is. And I saw a story yesterday that thoroughly modern Milli Vanilli, the outgoing chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was saying that there's nothing to that. That balloon came over from China. Nothing to see here. Now, this is the same guy who I think should have been. If I had been President Trump, I would have taken his 4 stars and busted him down so low he'd have to salute civilians. When he said he called his counterpart in China to say, I'm going to give you a warning, but if this guy starts a war and we launch any missiles at you, I'm going to call you and let you know about it because we're buddies. As far as I'm concerned, he has betrayed the 4 stars on his uniform, and he does not deserve the recognition that he's getting, and probably a pretty handsome pension that he's going to be getting. I think 4-star generals generally get a pretty damn good pension.
Yeah.
And I'd like to make that kind of money now as a working stiff, much less retired. And he has disgraced the uniform. He has disgraced his 4 stars. By doing something that ridiculous, and also the wokeness is he putting up with, and now he wants us to believe that this balloon that we didn't finally shoot down till it got over the water and off Myrtle Beach, said it didn't gather any intelligent information. It just drifted over here. It was off course. Isn't it interesting that it was off course going over just about every one of our military bases as it floated over the United States while we didn't do anything? That's amazing to me how off course that thing got.
Well, they didn't really get anything, Bill.
No, I know that.
They didn't get anything.
And they said, well, if they did, if it was gathering stuff, it was already contained in that, so, and we blew that up.
Yeah, very minimal.
No. It actually had, I think, transmission abilities.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
The Chinese ain't stupid. Okay, they may be evil. They may be bad. They may be coming after Formosa, a.k.a. Taiwan, and us, but they ain't stupid.
No, they're not. And Colony Ridge is what it's called, not Colonial. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
In Texas. And then driver's license, they're assisting them to get driver's licenses as well, says Lizzie Warren.
Which means they could vote.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're not supposed to be able to vote, but that's an issue for another day.
Yeah, I got a list for you on that one.
Yeah. And then Steve Stanton Sr. says, did you see that the Dallas mayor switched from Dem to Republican? I did that. I don't know how you couldn't, based off of just the border issue alone.
Exactly.
How could you be a Democrat and support that, especially when you see what it's doing to the people that live on the border? And Dallas is not close to the border.
No, we need a better PR man. Yeah, I found out how big Texas was when I was driving through there, going home with a buddy of mine who was living in Kerrville, which is about 50, 60 miles north of San Antonio.
Okay.
And we were driving. We'd been in what seemed like 3 weeks in Texas. We're driving. We were 2 hours out of Dallas and passed a sign on the road that said El Paso. 599 miles. Good Lord. Jeez.
Yeah, it's a very big state. And then Mary McCann Hybrider said Texas legislatures are stepping up. How about you, Georgia? I think one of the things in Georgia is that they are really scared to lose their seats. The redistricting did not. I have no idea why things were redistricted the way that they were, but across the country, we could be losing a lot of seats based off of the redistricting that happened because Republicans did not draw a hard line in the sand. So that's shame on Republicans. We never, when we are in control of things, we never take advantage of it. But yet when the Democrats are there, they're going the full 9 yards. They're not giving an inch.
I remember when they first lost their power for the first time in almost 50 years, when Newt Gingrich was elected Speaker of the House back in the early 90s. And the Democrats were just crying and say, don't forget our minority rights. Don't forget, we still have power here. We still are able to vote on things. You still need to respect what we do. And then when they get power again and the Republicans tried, oh, please don't forget our minority rights, they looked at them and said, we won, you lost.
Yep, exactly. That's where we need to get to. And Lizzie Warren says, and Biden encouraged war in Ukraine almost immediately upon taking office. He's encouraged a lot of bad behavior. And I will tell you that I'm very disappointed in what's happening. And again, why are people not more upset? Like, people are paying, in California, I think gas is like around $8 a gallon. I'd be moving immediately. Yeah. I would not be staying in California based off of the fact that, guess what? If you don't want to transition your kid or affirm them, guess what? They can take your kid. I'm sorry, I'm leaving.
Did you say it was over $4 a gallon now in Utah?
$4.57 a gallon. Last time I talked to my mother, but I do believe gas goes up on Tuesdays, is what, if I remember correctly. But so I'm sure that their gas prices are going up and will continue to go up because they, canceled the leases in New Mexico and in Alaska. Huge issues. No one's talking about it though, Bill. Like, all of this stuff flies under the radar. We're more concerned. The president is more concerned about making sure you don't pay all of these junk fees on your concert tickets. That's really important stuff, Bill.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have a country full of people that can't pass math tests, can't read. You've done them down to the point where, yes, that is the most important thing in my life, is that I have to pay these junk fees on these concert tickets because that's what I want to do every weekend.
Yeah. This is just ridiculous. And once again, Dan Bongino has said it on numerous occasions. How bad is it going to have to get before we finally start doing something? Because apparently it hasn't gotten bad enough yet. They just elected a Democrat. That was at the special election they had up in New Hampshire, and that a Republican should have won. And Democrat was elected overwhelmingly.
You want to know why? Because Republicans don't show up, and the Republican Party does not do their job. They need to be out talking to people. It's horrible. I don't love doing it, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of work to be done. And when people knock on your door, answer it. It's horrible to go do those, like, door knocking and things like that, and ask you to vote for a candidate. Be nice to those people, because we, as Republicans, we want to be left alone, which I agree. However, we're not in a place where we can be left alone. And when people are trying to make a difference, you should support those people.
The politicians aren't leaving us alone.
They sure aren't. Well, and Mary McCann Hybrider says illegals in Pennsylvania can get a driver's license and are automatically added to the voter rolls. Pennsylvania, I have no idea what's happened to that state, but it's gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, what they've done up there is just...
you vote for a guy that looks like he's taking out the garbage.
Well, also they.
Well, he started crying yesterday in the Senate.
Oh, geez.
About you shouldn't be making fun of him because of the problems that he has.
Well, then you shouldn't be a senator. Like, grow thicker skin, sit down, get out of there.
Exactly.
The other thing is, in Pennsylvania, they've allowed ballot harvesting, which I think, unfortunately, people that don't value their vote will do whatever someone tells them to do when they come to the door. So I think that that's the other thing, Bill. Ballot harvesting is allowed in Pennsylvania, and that is what's going to hurt this country, is all the ballot harvesting. So I don't necessarily think it's people in Pennsylvania that are engaged that are voting this way. I think it's people that are ballot harvesting that are collecting votes, which is totally different. Lizzie Warren, Bretta Circus says a distraction, and then Ronna McDaniel doing a bang-up job. Yep. So glad she was reelected, because she's done a great job with the RNC for the past 6 years.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you.
In politics, you can only fail up, and you don't lose your job for not doing it. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
It's amazing.
All right, coming up.
Well, you were able to actually, when we get back, we're going to be talking about some good things happening.
There is hope on the horizon. Some kids getting baptized in college. Go Tigers.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning on this Tuesday.
Yes, and we were talking before the break, of course, about the border and all the things that this administration has done to really help us get to the path of destruction very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
And Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he's very aggressive in his approach. And he was in South Carolina this weekend. He had a lot to say, but one of the things that he talked about was what he needs to do when he gets into office.
Yeah, drew a good crowd and told it like it was.
Like this from wow. And they sell well. They like well. Back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
So that was just a quick clip, but I'm all for it. It's going to be ugly, but I think, there are no easy decisions anymore, Bill. I think that we're way past that, and things are not going to be as warm and fuzzy as the left would like them to be, supposedly, in their utopia. Mm-hmm. But I do think that we are going to see, if Trump is reelected, or whoever the candidate, or whoever is elected, I do think that they have to take a strong stance against this in order for us to make sure that
there's no doubt
that we don't end up in chaos, because we see what's happening in Europe.
Absolutely. Close the border right away.
Yes.
Bring troops home from Ukraine.
Yes.
Because I know that they're and put
they're
them
being
on our
treated.
border.
They're being treated at the hospital.
Yeah.
In Europe, I'm like, they've been lying to us the whole time, which we all knew, but
we got third ID stuff over there, and we just provided them with some of those brand new tanks we just got.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But Trump, always known for having a little fun when he is out and about, and he made a trip into a gun store in South Carolina this weekend as well.
Yeah.
Like this from wow. And they sell well. They like well.
They like
I gotta buy one. Sir, if you want one, this one. No, I want to buy one. I want to buy one. Can I get one more picture with the president? Go ahead. Here. That's right here. I just want one. Go ahead.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hey, let me have a minute. Y'all look so good. Watch this. You got it. And hey, jump in one more time. Right? With Julian, hey, the Attorney General, jump in.
Come on, Attorney General.
You look good.
Appreciate it.
Hey, you have that.
We saw tons of them. Isn't Glock great? Glock is
very
fantastic.
good.
A huge partnership with Glock. We're one of the biggest. I don't know that they ever can.
That's a big seller.
Oh, hey, this is fantastic. 1, 2, 3.
Lives coming out, 1911s, coming out all the time, and you see them in the NRA magazine and some of the other publications. And these things are $2,300 to $5,000, depending on whether or not it's gold or whether it's engraved and things of that nature. Yeah.
Well, I've seen a lot of versions of the Trump gun, the 45. My dad wants one, but we can only find it in a 9mm. But he would like a 45 with 45 on it. Makes sense. But haven't been able to locate one of those yet. But
as some of the bumper stickers say, 45 APC, which is the rating of the ammunition, said 45 APC because more than one shot is just a waste of ammunition. Usually you get hit with the 45 APC and you're done for. Yeah, you may be dead when you hit the ground.
Yeah, and but Trump always having a little bit of fun when he's out and about. I think that's why he does have such a following. People just love him, and people are always recording. They always want a photo. There was also some footage of him at the rally this weekend where he's just taking photos with people. I mean,
and the rallies for Biden. What do you see there?
No one.
He doesn't know which end of the stage to walk off.
No, and it's mostly press that's there. There's not a lot of actual people there.
Right, yeah.
But
not actual people, just press.
Yeah. So they're not real people. They're horrible human beings.
Most of them are, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Lizzie Warren says by the time the next election, 10 million illegals will have come into this country. You're absolutely right. And a lot of those illegals will be fighting age males, which is the most concerning to me because why do we need aggressive males in this country? I'm not a big fan of this. And they're also trafficking children. There was some video footage that actually came out from the border yesterday. There was a guy from Arizona that was taking some video footage, and this guy had a little girl with him that was about 6 years old, and he was like touching her very inappropriately, and he was in line to get into the country. And so he went and talked to the Border Patrol. Not really sure what the outcome was, but you could clearly tell that definitely not normal behavior with a male adult and this female child.
Well, you had, and the press made very little of it when the Dalai Lama was running for president the first time, and we had those videos of him saying we need a civilian police force just as powerful as the military, with the same kind of weapons and everything. Why? Nobody seemed to ask that question.
No, and Bill, I'm super upset with just what's going on. Texas, while they are late to the game, they are trying to do stuff. But yesterday, also saw video footage of them cutting the barbed wire fence that the Texas DPS had just put up, and because Biden says you can't restrict anything, I guess they're just going to cut through the barbed wire. They're going to. I don't know what else you can do, Bill. I really don't. Unless we replace this president soon, this will continue until someone is newly elected because there is no consequence for the behavior. None.
And Ted Cruz last night on Hannity said that what he believes is that the Democrat National Convention, which conveniently is going to be held in Chicago, he can't
Good
wait
luck
for
with
that.
that.
I wonder how where all the homeless people are going to go, because usually when they go into a city like that, they did it in Atlanta. All of a sudden, the homeless people disappeared, and suddenly it looked like paradise. But it's going to be interesting to see. But he said he thinks that they're going to reject Biden at the convention, going to throw him under the bus, and Michelle Mabel will be parachuting in as the savior for the Democrats.
I don't know if it'll be Michelle. I'm thinking more of a Gavin Newsom. That's what I think is going to happen. I have my money on that. But I do think that it'll be interesting to see if the people of Chicago will actually show up to the DNC because they've allowed this to happen. And, their representatives there are actually blaming the federal government, which is true. However, they've all supported it. So I think that people are following a lot more closely, especially since their lives have been so greatly impacted, especially in cities like Chicago, where they're kicking people out of, their schools and stuff like that to house illegals. So definitely not a...
Well, kids aren't learning anything anyway, so they may as well use the schools to house the illegals.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, for sure.
And take your tax money.
But
it's really exciting.
There is a ray of hope.
There is.
Thank God. At Auburn University, right across the state from us, just across the Georgia state line, where that last Tuesday, they had a big revival. They fill the gym with these kids that are announcing their loyalty and their sovereignty to Jesus Christ. And then there's a lake there at Auburn. It's a beautiful campus. There's a lake there at Auburn, and they're going out and they're getting baptized in the lake.
Baptism is a sign to all of you that these people belong to Jesus. Okay, let's go. Let's rock.
Use the water for amplification. If you want to get water baptized, we're going to have 3 to 4 people here that are going to be able to baptize. So if you want to make your way over here, we'll get you connected and ready to go. Sound good? Let's do it.
And the governor of Alabama said, we are not going to, and they go, because this organization wants to file suit, said, we're not going to have some out-of-state operation come in here and tell us what to do and to deny our kids their religious freedom.
Yes, and Steve Stanton says, Auburn returns my faith. And Lizzie Warren says, I've been told Auburn is one of the most conservative universities in the country. And we got a little heart from Mary McCann Highbreeder.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's hope. My grandma always says, where there's life, there's hope. Yep. And I do think that we're fighting a lot of battles right now, but stuff like this is emerging across the country. I mean, we had that thing that happened, was it in Kentucky? They had a university about 6 months
Yes.
ago
Mhm.
where it was like a continual.
It was, and it just went on and on
Yeah.
and on. They started a revival like one Friday night, and it lasted like 3 weeks.
Yep. And they finally had to shut it down because it
Yeah.
got so out of control.
Yeah.
They were like, we just can't continue.
And other universities and colleges started doing the same thing as well. So there is hope. And just remember, when we were fighting when we were establishing this country in the Revolutionary War, most of the people were in favor of sticking with England. So
It only takes a small minority to change the outcome of events. So keep that in mind as you move forward and get involved in local organizations that are trying to change the trajectory. So
check out a poem that's called "One Man Awake," and it says it all.
Okay.
So
well, that's going to do it for us today. Remember, we are
we're on the precipice here, folks. If you don't help us, we're not going to be here.
Yes.
And that includes next week. We need your help. Anything that you can do. We need sponsors. We need supporters because we're unlike we're not Ukraine, so we can't ask for an extra $300 million. So please, anything you can do to help us out, by all means, do so.
Yes, and we will be back tomorrow, and hopefully we will have some more things to talk about. I think we have some more candidates to talk with. So
we have better news and more money.
Yes, we'll hope for that too.
Yeah, because we can't do it without you.
Yes, please become a member, an investor. You can donate, and you can also obviously sponsor our show and become an advertiser. So there are lots of options for you to help us out and make sure that we can continue to keep the show going as well as expand upon what we're doing now into something bigger.
Let me at least thank the two advertisers who've had faith in us from the beginning, and that was a Sweet Potatoes restaurant as well as Bernard Williams Insurance. And they've been stalwarts almost from the beginning. So anything that you can do to help us out, and businesses, you might want to mention it to a business. We need your help.
Yes. So thanks so much for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow, and
Remember,
enjoy your day.
Yep. You can't spell Democrat without RAT.